Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call to order the regular town council for the meeting for the town of Hudson for October 20th at 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Stadler.
Here.
Councilmember Knoll.
Here.
Councilmember Chavez. Councilmember Hammack.
Here.
Councilmember Warren.
Here.
Mayor Hargis.
Here. Are there any additions to the agenda?
There's not.
The point in our meeting for citizens' comments, anybody wishing to address the council on anything that is not already set for public hearing on the agenda may do so at this time. Step forward to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Roll call.
Again?
Did we do it?
Yes.
Yeah, we just did it.
Sorry.
Let the record show that nobody's coming up and nobody's speaking up online. All right. Item number 2, appointment of a new council member. Thank you for all those of you that are here. And what I'd like to do is call you up one at a time for interviews. And I'm going to call you up in the order that it's listed in the packet, which is the order in which you turned in your council application. So first, Zachary Reyes. First of all, if you'd like to just introduce yourself to the rest of the council and if there's anything you want to say, and then I'll see if there's any questions.
Evening, council members. Some, or if not all of you may already know me. Zach Reyes, 509 Cherry Street. This will be the second time I've put my application in for a vacancy. I am fully aware that I will have to not attend, or I have to relinquish my commissioner position. If voted on, I intend to do a meet and greet, a public meet and greet with everybody in town, so they can talk to me, ask me questions, whatever they may feel. And I just feel like I'll have more of a voice on the council than I do on the commission.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Zach?
Yeah, I've got 2 if possible.
Go ahead.
First question is, Zach, how would you define corruption?
Could you repeat that, please?
How would you define corruption?
How would you define corruption?
Corrupt. I thought you said correction.
Corruption.
Corruption.
Corruption, I would define as taking bribes, money, going with the general consensus of your fellow council members rather than the will of the people.
Okay, my second is, do you believe that you have the ability to set aside personal opinions and be objective in order to make decisions for the betterment of the town as a whole, rather than your own personal feelings?
100%.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. You answered my question, which was, do you realize you got to step down from the planning commission or discuss it with the other 2 to see if either of them wanted to step down? Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next is John Albright.
I'm John Albright, 160 Foxtail Drive. Lived in Hudson a little over 3 years now. Retired last August from Boulder Valley School District. I was the manager of maintenance, handled a $1.1 million budget. Have been on many national boards for schools. I just thought I'd like to try to get on and see what I can do here in Hudson.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I have,
Okay,
what would you like to see as coming on to council? Like, what are your visions for the town?
well, my strong
thing.
point is maintenance, and so I'd like to just get on and I've heard, people talking about the maintenance department and that there can be some adjustments to it and all that, and I think I could bring a lot to that. I've been doing it for almost 40 years with the school district for 27. So I would just like to have my input and see what we can do to make the town better.
Okay, and then my second one kind of goes along with that, but why did you personally run for council? What made you personally say, hey, I want to be on council?
I had people come to me and tell me that they thought I'd be good for it. And since I'm retired now and I'm not on any national boards anymore, I thought it'd be a good fit and I have the time and committed. I'm committed to whatever I do.
Oh, thank you. That's all I had.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got two questions. John, how do you define corruption?
I would say being in the back pocket of other people, doing what you know is not right and following others. Of course, taking bribes, stuff like that, it definitely is corruption. But I think just not going with what's right, doing the right thing can be corrupted, corruption.
Okay, and then do you believe you have the abilities to set your personal opinions aside in order to make objective judgments on what's best for this town?
Definitely. I've had to do that, like on the boards I was on for the school district and stuff and for the national boards. A lot of things you didn't maybe agree with, but you knew it was for the better or just the right thing to do, just doing the right thing.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Then I have one question.
Sure.
Do you foresee any issues that would keep you from attending the first and third Wednesday meetings?
Not at all. Like I
Okay.
say, I'm retired now, so,
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
Next is Leanne.
I'm Leanne Winslow. I live at 22 Birch Street. I am a stay-at-home mother to 4 kiddos, 2 of which are full-time at Hudson. One is a preschooler, so she only goes Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I have a 2-year-old at home. So I applied to be on the council I've been here for 5 years. You got to start somewhere if you want, your voice heard. I've seen great things. I've seen some things. And so I want to try to build better or start, building better community because I see things like Louis does and I see things that Port Lupton does and I want to bring that to Hudson.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions?
What skills do you have that we might not have as council members that you could bring into?
My work history, which I know is a little bit whatever because I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've worked with special ed kids, so I have history with knowing how to address certain people. I have a genuine love for people. I love talking as much as I'm nervous right now. I do think my strong suit is kids. I love them. I obviously have 4, so there's that. Skills, I know how to type like stuff. Last year I did work as a health aide over at Hoff Elementary. So I was able to transition from the special ed to that. So I don't know, flexible.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Leanne, I have the same questions for you. Let's start with how would you define corruption?
I was waiting for that. Opposite of integrity. I mean, what's right is right in your heart. You have to just you can't look the other way on some things. There is a right, there is a wrong, there is black, there is white, there's no gray areas in certain things. And I feel like that should be brought to any town. There are certain things where you have leeways, but you have to go about it the right way.
Okay, and then the second question, do you have the ability to set your personal opinions aside in order to make objective decisions for the betterment of the town.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
With small kiddos, you would be able to
Yes.
attend.
My husband gets off around 3, so he'll be home in time for me to get here. So.
Okay,
All right.
that was going to be my question. So,
Yes, I totally understand. And thank you.
so thank you.
Yep.
Lisa?
Lisa Biskins, 105 Main Street. I've been up here a couple times before, so I own the end of the trail. I just had my 20th anniversary. I also do real estate on the side. And my main reason I really want to I love Hudson and I really want to be more involved with the community. So this is, I think, a really good start. I do get a lot of feedback. I do talk to a lot of people on a daily basis in our town for a lot of years. So I kind of know a little bit of people, what they want maybe to have done or changed. I think I could be a really good go-to person for a lot of people. And that's about it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Just my same one. What do you think you would bring to council that, we don't have already here? That's new and-
Well, I think there's a good variety now. I would hope that I could bring maybe, like I said, maybe a little bit more with the community. Because I think that I am in contact with a lot of people. So I think that's a good asset that I have, that I'm able to have and get a lot of feedback and to make everybody else aware of stuff that maybe you guys might not be aware that's going on, that people are feeling and don't come to the meetings, or maybe say on Facebook, but don't really come to say what they really feel. And there maybe could be changes in that way. I think everybody else, I don't know. I'm not saying that I could have anything different, just something that maybe I just have an advantage of, just because I've been around people for a long time in Hudson. So,
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I have.
Daniel?
Lisa, good to see you again.
hi, Daniel.
How do you define corruption?
What comes to my mind and my feeling first is just doing something wrong for your own personal gain and knowing that it's not right and you're corrupt because you feel it and you know it and you're doing it anyways. That's
Okay.
the way I can describe it.
Okay. Do you believe you have the ability to set your personal opinions aside to make objective decisions for the betterment of this town?
Yes, absolutely. I do that practically every single day. So yeah, that's an easy thing for me to do.
Okay, thank you.
Person. Okay.
Wait a
thank you.
minute. Anybody else? No? And do you foresee any issues that would preclude you from actually being here on the Tuesdays or the Wednesdays, first and third Wednesdays?
No, I would have no problem with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well,
We
I
have,
think we have 4 great candidates.
Yep.
But, we've never had 4 candidates before. And at this time, I really think it'd be best left up to, the people in town to decide to have a vote.
we are not having an election until next November. We have to have
We
this
can have a special election.
in April and we will have to pay for that. We have to have it filled, right? Before then?
You can choose instead to set it for a special election, and the special election wouldn't be in April. It would be probably at some other date that we
So we
would,
don't have to stick with the November, April.
correct. For a
Okay.
special election to fill a council vacancy, it would be run by the town, and we do an election calendar to get nominees, just like a regular town election, but it would be solely done by the town and at the cost of the town.
My thinking along with that is we would have, I don't want townspeople to think, oh, like say the Hudson Hills guy got it. Now there's 3 from Hudson Hills, or Cherry Street got it. There's 3 on Cherry Street. I don't want town people to be like, something's fishy going on. They want, you know what I mean? Just because there is 2 already from Hudson Hills, 2 already from Cherry Street. That would possibly make 3 from Cherry or 3 from Hudson Hills. Not saying that they would get it. I'm just saying that's always something that could happen. And I don't want people to think that.
I didn't realize the rules where we could set the special election at any time, so.
How much does that cost? Before we get into that though, I had a completely different opinion. So it's been less than a year since the vote actually came out anyways. Had Michael not ran, Lisa would have taken the spot.
Yeah.
And I feel that Lisa would be good for the position. She brings a different perspective. She owns a business within the town that's been here a long time. She hasn't lived in town as long as everybody, but she owns the business and she's been here. She knows
Yeah.
kind of a background and
she
she
does
lost
talk
by
to-
less than 15.
That is a very good
Yeah,
point.
I totally forgot
didn't
about
think
that
about
point,
that.
but yeah, but no, and I agree because she does talk to a lot of people down at her business that have a lot to say that might not want to come and feel comfortable saying it. So she does bring that aspect into it as well. And it's not the first time she's applied, you know? And she used to come to
She ran
meetings
last time when
regular-
Michael
yeah,
did, and she also ran on
Before
the
that.
ballot.
Yeah, so. No, I see where you're,
No, you made it.
yeah,
that-
you made a
So
very
that's
valid
my
point.
opinion,
Because
but
that would probably what would happen if it was put to a special election.
possibly, we can't say for sure.
Well,
but
yeah, but
That's,
I agree with that.
That's, I'd have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I do too.
and then it takes away other aspects that you're
Yeah,
pointing out.
exactly. That was the one thing I was worried about is if we didn't have a special election and one of those 2 things happened, I didn't want it to look corrupt, kind of, to say the least.
So then I need a motion. Do we want to have a special election or do you want to appoint?
I make a motion to appoint Lisa to the vacated seat.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Lisa. And guess what? You get to come up and join us for the rest of the evening.
You can swear her in, but no.
Oh, yeah, you got to be sworn in. That does help. We gonna get a picture of this?
I have my, I have my phone. Triple over four.
Whoops, sorry, that was by workers' comp.
I would assume.
Congratulations.
Right here.
And all of you who did put in an application, thank you so much. There will be an election this coming November, not this November, a year from now, sorry. Keep that in mind. And there's all kinds of other ways you can get involved with the town if you want to, and especially if you're really good with the kids.
They rec-
Rec and Event Committee is looking for more members as well. So thank you all. We really appreciate it and hope to see you around at more events and more meetings. All right. Item number 3A, presentation, Clearwater Solutions Municipal Water Efficiency Plan.
Thank you. We have Steve with us from Clearwater. He's going to give a presentation. Steve, I'll scroll through your presentation down here. About a half second behind you, so just give me a moment to scroll through, but I'll get that up on the screen and Steve, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Steve. with Clearwater Solutions. Michelle Hatcher at my office is also here. And she'll actually be doing most of the presentation regarding the water efficiency plan. What I wanted to just start off with, was this effort sort of began, a few years back when we were having some water planning discussions with staff. And then, also sort of a fallout as part of our recommendations from the water master plan that we completed in 2016. Part of those, discussions and the recommendations was potentially requiring, Windy Gap water or potentially participating in NISP as alternatives to CVT. With Windy Gap coming essentially from the same system and, being of the same sort of high water quality that the town wants. So anyway, participation in either of those projects requires money, and completion of this water efficiency plan sort of qualifies the town for low interest loans if the town decide to go down that road. But the Colorado Water Conservation Board and the Colorado Water and Power Development Authority both have low interest loans for the town to participate in water projects or water acquisition. So that's sort of what led us down this road. And then the last thing I wanted to point out was we were able to get a grant to cover a portion of this effort from CWCB. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Okay. Well, thanks for having us tonight. I'm just gonna, you can flip to the next slide. I'll just kind of briefly go through the plan and what we've come up with here over the last couple of years, or last year planning, I guess. So we like to talk about why we're doing this first off, and there is of course many benefits to water efficiency planning, but some of the ones that kind of float to the top here are, there was, as Steve had mentioned, there was grant money to actually complete this plan. So that's kind of a no-brainer there. Also, the state requires an approved water efficiency plan for CWCB, that's the Colorado Water Conservation Board, and then CWRPDA loans, and that's the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority. So you have to have a plan on file with them to be approved for loans. There's also implementation grant money. So any of the activities that we choose to put in this plan, there's a pot of money available to help implement those. So that's another incentive to put together a water efficiency plan. And then NISP, the NISP project, they like to see a approved plan on file for participants. So there's some reasons why we do the water efficiency planning. Okay, you can flip to the next slide. So there's basically 5 steps in the planning process. We profile the existing water system. We look at future water demands and historical demand management. We establish water efficiency goals, recommend water efficiency activities, and then create implementation and monitoring plans for those efficiency activities. So on the next slide, so based on past water usage, we projected into the future demands. And based on data provided, we estimated about 2,900 acre feet of water is your projected water demand over the next 10 years. And the slide also shows kind of the pie chart at the bottom is a breakdown of different customer categories, with residential category being the largest, followed by commercial and so on. And you can see on the table to the right, we broke out the projected demands for each customer category. So you have obviously residential largest, and so on and so forth. I want to mention non-revenue water. We get some questions on that. That is actually unbilled authorized uses, such as like hydrant flushing. It's also documented system losses like leaks. And then there's also unaccounted for losses, which would be like meter inaccuracies and things like that. So that non-revenue category kind of encompasses those three kind of uses, just for your information there. Let's see, we can go to the next slide. So understanding seasonal water use is also important to help select the appropriate water efficiency activities. So we take a look at, kind of break out what we think is mostly outdoor usage versus indoor usage. And as this graph shows, the outdoor use represents about 41% of customer water use, while our indoor water use is about 59%. So we look at that, and it seems to make sense to maybe target more towards indoor water use savings. Right. The next slide kind of shows our current trends and goals for a planning effort. So water savings from the water efficiency activities can be challenging to quantify, especially for activities that are highly dependent on human behavior, like public education. So a simple way to kind of evaluate water savings as a whole is by calculating the per capita water use. And then you can kind of observe trends from that. So here we have the change in population and the kind of trend of the per capita water use. And some of the variability in the per capita water use is likely linked to yearly fluctuations in temperature and precip. But with this, looking at these, we can kind of use this for future planning efforts and continue to monitor these trends. And hopefully after implementing this plan, we can see a downward trend in per capita water use. So the next slide. So early in our planning process, we'd like to set a water savings goal. So we sat down with staff and sort of got an idea of what they'd like to see as far as a 10-year reduction in water use. We came up with a 10% total reduction goal, with residential, setting residential as potentially the highest savings goal on that one. Next slide. So in order to reach the goals, we work with staff to select several water efficiency activities to evaluate. And we kind of have a universal list that we go through that has any kind of activity you can think of, from toilet rebates to leak detection. Everything's on the list. And then we have staff pick out the ones that they're most interested in. And actually the screening criteria at the bottom of the slide is used to kind of as a lens, I suppose you could say, to pick activities or eliminate activities. But after we've picked a number of activities to evaluate, we perform a cost benefit analysis on those, and that's cost compared to the amount of water saved. And then finally, after reviewing the cost benefit, you can evaluate the activities with staff and make some recommendations on on which ones to include in the plan for final implementation. The next slide. I think we selected 12 activities to implement in this plan. The list here, there's 8 new activities that I wanted to highlight here. We have advanced meter reading, installation and operations, a drought management plan, establishing regular contact and sharing of information between the town and the planning department, the water department, excuse me, and the planning department. Weekly and time of day outdoor watering restrictions, a water wasting ordinance, town facility requirements, public education activities, and then a customer survey. So these are all new activities that have not been done by the town yet. And some of these we may be able to get grants through various entities, and or there may be some partnering opportunities on that. So based on the water efficiency activities selected, the following table shows the estimated water savings that may be achieved through implementation of these activities. So this is assuming that all of the activities are implemented during this 10-year kind of planning horizon. And as you can see, we actually exceeded our goal of 10% and estimate that implementing these activities could get us up to 12% water savings. And that's about 345 acre feet over the 10-year period, or it's about 35 acre feet per year of water savings. Okay, so with that being said, I thought we'd discuss here our timeline for completing this plan. So after the presentation tonight, and if the council agrees, then we can start a public review period of 60 days. After which time we'll gather comments and incorporate any public comments that may come in. And then the council can formally adopt the plan and we can submit it to CWCB for approval and start getting some implementation grant money. So with that, I think we're ready to answer any questions you might have, or
Does anybody have any questions for her?
Yeah, I have one question. Did we, I guess, did the town staff bring up any gray water usage solutions, or is that just not cost effective?
I cannot recall if we did catch up on that, but
I don't think we did.
that's definitely something that we can look into. And I'm not sure I'm not sure how cost effective that might be, but we could evaluate.
Yes, but I don't remember.
Yeah, the last time we discussed the water issue, I believe Daniel asked for that to be researched. So when we brought back the water issue again, we had that versus what this presentation is. Am I correct, Daniel?
Yeah, I asked for that last time. I'm not super concerned about timeline, but it's definitely something we need to look into. And this is just, I'm not educated on water near as much as you guys are, but in my opinion, gray water usage would be much more effective than limiting watering days, because I don't think the town has the water pressure or volume flow to have everybody water on a Wednesday between 9 and 5 p.m. I just don't think it would work out very well, but that's all I have.
Now, Daniel, when you're saying gray water, are you talking about water that shows up at the wastewater treatment plant? Or are you talking about other reuse water?
From my understanding, there's communities in Colorado that use a gray water system for their outdoor watering. I know that we're probably wanting to target indoor water usage. But I mean, personally, I find I use a lot more water outside than I do inside.
Just a couple thoughts on that. So the water that shows up at the wastewater treatment plant after the town constituents use it, that water gets credited towards well pumping depletions. So when the town was pumping its alluvial wells, any water that showed up sort of offset the amount of water that the town would need to augment as part of the town's augmentation plan decree. So, but it sounds like maybe you're talking about the idea of maybe a dual system, which yes, a lot of towns do that. They call that non-potable irrigation. So you're irrigating lawns or parks or with sort of untreated water, but you're not irrigating with CBT water, which makes a lot of sense. So the key to that though is just having a non-potable source that you can set these systems up with. So in the town's case, maybe you would be irrigating with well water that you're pumping, which there's a cost to that, and then there's also an augmentation component that's required if you're pumping box elder alluvium water. That's part of the water court decree for the town. So, in an ideal scenario is, let's say there's a farm outside of, just hypothetical, there's a farm outside of town and it has some sort of ditch right on it. And that farm annexes into town, and then you take that water in as annexation credit, and then you set up a non-potable system with that ditch right or that water right that's tied to that farm. But where the town of Hudson is different is, I think the one ditch that runs close to town, a lot of that's spoken for. It's used for municipal use, sort of up ditch, and it's really expensive, but there's not a lot of native supplies is what we call it in and around town other than your well water.
So, and can you put that in like real simple layman's terms for me?
I know, sorry. Yeah, so I think it's, you just don't have the town doesn't have the availability of native supplies to set up sort of dual system, non-potable outdoor irrigation. So the easiest way to do that would be to use well water. And all I'm saying there is, well water comes with a cost operationally, and then it comes with a cost for augmentation.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer everybody's? Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I think his other concern was about the water pressure. Typically what I've seen is when they do that, they alternate days and it's by house number. So it's like evens do one day, odds do another. And that's usually how you alleviate that pressure issue.
Did it growing up in Aurora. Because, 20 years ago, Aurora still did that, where
Brighton still does it.
Water. So, these days, either, before 5 a.m. or after 9 p.m. But the people that don't have sprinkler systems, that's going to be the issue in town with our residents. And a lot of them don't. And I'm going to be honest, I probably would be one that would not agree to watering on a certain day at a certain time because I don't have a sprinkler system. I water my lawn myself. I do it in the mornings, before it's super hot. I don't do it in the day. I do it in the evenings, but with our water pressure and everything already.
You never know how much lawn you're watering.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. But I know it's all just examples. It's not set in stone, and we as a council have to agree
to it at the end
on it. And, they did
It's
have
still
a
ways
citizen
out.
thing in there, so we can even put it out to the citizens, see what they
It'll be a survey issue.
Yeah, so, but I mean, I kind of agree with Daniel. I don't like that idea.
Yeah, I understand the whole even odd concept. Some towns even do it by streets. That's kind of pretty obvious. What I'm saying is, even doing an even odd, I don't think we have the pressure or the water flow to accomplish that. I think the water pressure would drop too much in certain areas of town. It would kind of be a moot point.
I agree.
And it's one of the things that we'd really have to look at in this whole draft plan.
Right.
But who knows? Maybe by then our pump will be working and we'll have bed pressure. Who knows?
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
It could happen.
You need to come up to the microphone, please. State your name.
Todd Bird. I see that there's a monetary penalty for too much water usage. And I don't see anything for, many benefits of water conservation. And, that's a good way to get to the people too, is if, you don't hit the threshold of, let's say, the 4,000 gallons, that, hey, listen, we dropped this back. There's many ways to get people to conserve without, having the constraints of government on top of them. But incentives are a great way to get that done. And that's really all I got to say about it. I mean, there's more than one way to get,
That's a good point.
conservation
Thank you.
accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't see any incentives on there. It's just
Yeah.
ideas on how to lessen people's water, not what do you do if you don't. So that's a good idea. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, could you, Steve, could you look at something about, I don't know, get with Guy and talk about incentives of any kind for not using so much water?
Sure. Yep, we could brainstorm that.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, this report has a lot to it, and I was not able to go through all of it. The summary that you did, Michelle, was wonderful, but I'm going to need more time to really go through this.
Yeah.
So can we bring it back up, November meeting?
Sure.
That give everybody enough time to really go through it and
Yeah.
hopefully go through it and
Will
come up
they
with
have
something.
incentives kind of ideas by November meetings to give us kind of?
Do you think, Steve, you might have some incentive ideas to give us by November 3rd?
Sure. Yeah, we can brainstorm that with staff and include that and incorporate that into this plan.
Okay. Then we're gonna go through this more and really give it a good look so that we all get a chance to truly spend some time in here and figure out our complete thoughts, even though I can't even express them. But thank you both for the presentation. We really appreciate it. And all the work.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right. 3B, Chief Jay Hirakawa, Hudson Police Department update.
Carry a lot of books. I hope I don't need all this. Basically, I was asked to just give you guys an update on what's going on with the police department, where we've gone since the inception in 2016 through 2019 when I got here to present day, which present day is probably the end of August, first part of September, for statistical purposes. First thing I wanted to do is just go through. So there's a lot of numbers here. So I was going through a lot of stats through 12 of 2016 through 10 of 2019, which is a total of 35 months. I went through, found 1,121 citations that were written. 128 of those were criminal, which to me were exceptionally low. I don't know why, with almost 1,000 traffic tickets, which seemed relatively high to me. But then again, we have 2 highways that go through here and only 1 parking ticket. So that was a little strange. There were a lot of tickets that were just unknown. I looked at them and they were basically tickets issued to people that were nothing I could find in any book that was an actual law. They were just made up charges at best is what I could say. They don't exist in any CRS, any municipal code or anything, in which we looked at these, and out of the 1,121 citations, 728 of them were dismissed for various errors. Most of the time, our town attorneys basically said this isn't a valid ticket and dismissed it. That's 65% of the tickets. So I went to work right away and started looking at all these and said, well, what do we need to do to fix it? So we changed our citations a little bit. We schooled our officers a little bit better. And between 2019 and 9 of September 2021, we wrote 1,652 citations. 302 of those were criminal. And some of those carried over. If they met the statute of limitations, we cleared some cases that were old cases that nobody even looked at. And we charged accordingly for those, in which we did bring in 1,350 traffic tickets, parking ticket, 3 unknowns. Again, those occasionally fell through or came through. We try to catch them all, but 3 of those came through. We disposed 1,585 of those tickets, which is 96%, which is relatively high. Out of those, 67 were dismissed for various reasons. Again, wrong court dates, things like that, a wrong charge, things like that would happen. Between December 2016 and October of 2019, again, that 35 months, 1,446 cases were here when I got here, and which there were 1,446 green folders back there in various file cabinets and stacks and boxes that we had to just put in order. Some of them were empty folders with case numbers on them. Some of them had copies of tickets in them. Some had case report numbers in them or cases in them. So between 2016 and 2019, cleared by arrest or exceptionally clear cases, out of that 1,446, only 37 of them could be cleared, which is 2.6%. That's pretty horrible when you look at that many victims being out there, that many actions being out there, and only 2% are being cleared. So again, there were 340 reported arrests. An arrest can be a summons too, so it's not necessarily a physical arrest. Out of all these statistics, I looked up a lot of them. We had 53 persons between 2016 and 2019 that were arrested physically, taken to the Well County Jail. No reports, no charges. On occasion, I could find a warrant. That's 53 people that we took their rights away. We took them away. We put them in jail, and there's no report. There's no charges. We arrested somebody with nothing.
And Well County accepted them?
Well County accepted them. They bonded them pending charges, pending a affidavit, and those charges never came about. Reports,
Filed it.
nothing was filed. In fact, there's no records. I can't even have my detectives look at these cases because there's no records. No reports were filed by the officers, which is, it's like a civil rights violation. I mean, you're taking somebody's Fourth Amendment rights away from them. You're transporting them to jail, and there's no record of it. So that, and I can't find any way to really look at it. So we've pulled up logs of what was dispatched. Some of those cases weren't dispatched. They were on scene type things. Maybe somebody saw a fight at Love's or something and took someone in custody, didn't write a ticket to them, took them to jail. Then it just disappears. So we don't want that to ever happen again. That's absolutely horrible thing to happen. Total calls between 2016 and 2019, 10,511 calls. Out of those 10,511 calls, They were only 4,924 were assigned to officers. That's not even 50%. Self-initiated out of those were 5587, which mostly were traffic tickets. Out of all the 10,000 calls that were taken, only 13.75% of those calls were documented. Means we don't have any documentation. We know from some call notes, we know from some dispatch notes what the initial call was, but nothing happened. We don't know if it was cleared. We don't know if there was nobody on scene. We don't know if nobody wanted to make a report. We don't have people's names in the report to contact now. So that's was a big problem. I want to make sure we changed all that and we're in compliance. So between 2010 and 2019 and September of 2021, at 1,445 incidents, we either cleared by arrest or exceptionally cleared 1,257 of those cases. 87.3% of those cases, we were arrested, made an arrest or exceptionally cleared the case, making it unfounded or cleared by arrest or whatever. So 57 of those were actually unfounded. So we could prove that either a crime wasn't committed or there was no proof of a crime or the incident just didn't exist. We completed out of all those 1,388 reports, there's 188 reports currently open that we still look at, we still work it on. Occasionally we wait for leads. We're waiting for, on several of them, we submitted DNA, fingerprint, forensic information. And with our CBI system, it's about a year's wait for anything we submit, up to 2 years up for some DNA cases. So, and that's something that's also I found is new up here in Weld County is submitting DNA on a hit and run off an airbag was new to them. They just didn't do that, which is crazy. I mean, if the airbag deploys and you're driving the car, you're pretty much going to show up on that airbag. So we do that. We've had 2,877 dispatch calls and 3,829 self-initiated calls. We've documented 100% of those calls. As of even this last week, we had detectives working on calls, clearing them. So there's a report. There's something that exists so we can recall, we can pull up reports. If somebody walks in and asks for a report, we have something for them. When I first got here, I noticed that there are a lot of policies that just either didn't exist or didn't make sense. So I immediately wrote 8 policies. I promoted a sergeant. I renamed us from a marshal's to a police department. We changed the police ID system here. We re-registered with the state and re-registered sort of being nice. I mean, we had no RI. We couldn't run anybody from out of state, right? So that was an issue. So we ran off of our Spillman system, which is our radio dispatch system. They can run state for us. They can't run anything out of state. So I don't know how anybody got cleared for out of state warrants or stolen cars and stuff from Nebraska. So we changed all that. And we registered with the federal government too. So evidence and records rooms, we've addressed those. They do still not meet some standards, but the records are in order. We can account for everything. And Melanie, who had a lot of years of experience in Adams County, she came up here and she just corrected everything. Our evidence room, to this day, we still have missing evidence. We have missing drugs. We have quite a bit of missing drugs. We have just things that are unaccounted for. We don't know where it is. And since then, we have an open internal affairs investigation, so that's set up. So we can say that we know we can say that we know what's missing. We can provide the description of what's missing. We just don't know where it is. So we have that. Our records are in order. I brought personnel here. I brought detectives here. All our case reports are now reviewed. So there's a system. We don't have officers reviewing their own reports and approving them because obviously they didn't do reports or review them or even submit them. So a sergeant in patrol will approve them. On higher end cases like felonies and stuff, they go to the detectives for approval, and sometimes they'll come to me for approval. So that's all done on all cases. We've had some personnel that are reassigned, So that would be like Melanie going from the front. So now she's full-time in the police department. That's all she does is evidence and records. And we have a records technician that came from Lakewood. He's very well versed. He meets all our standards and all the IACP standards and the Colorado Chiefs of Police standards, best practice standards. We've written approximately 5 grants, totaling $4,000, $7,000, $9,000, $41,000, and $88,000. So we were able to do that because before I got here, there were no crime stats taken. There was nothing registered federally. So we weren't eligible for anything. So I was able to call a friend of mine at Department of Justice and get us off of the 5-year list because we were actually banned for 5 years, the town of Hudson. So I was able to get that lifted, promise them I would behave and we'd do it the right way. And we've done that and we're starting to succeed. Our grants are starting to climb. We're getting better and better at them. And we'll continue to do that. We redesigned our cars, we repaired and rebranded everything. So when I got here, all 3 of your brand new patrol cars were damaged, unreported. Officers didn't report it. They just did what they wanted to with your cars. I don't go for that. There's inspections now on cars. There's accountability for the cars, all the equipment. We inspect everything to make sure the officers take care of it. I mean, it's your guys' equipment. You bought it for them. Uniforms have been changed from black BDUs, black badges. So that changed. There's a firearms program implemented. As far as when I got here, between 2016 and 2019, there was no certified instructor conducting any type of qualification with a firearm. And yet these guys had rifles, pistols, shotguns, less lethal devices, no instructors. So that of course is a huge liability. So we put that into in place. We've completed several internal investigations. When I first got here, we started 3 to begin with. We filed 3 of those went to file as criminal charges. And we conducted a search warrant to get one of the town's weapons back from a former marshal. We worked on health benefits to help keep our officers here. I canceled about $70,000 in contracts that I found here that, for instance, we had a contract for 10 hours a year for a helicopter out at Fort Collins. And I don't see any need for a helicopter. And it was primarily from the interim chief at the time. He brought that here because he had also had a contract with a company called Star Chaser, which shoots like a little Nerf dart into cars that are stolen and allows you to GPS track them. And apparently he was going to call the helicopter out to track these cars. The Denver Metro area doesn't do it, and they have a helicopter always up. And I just don't think that the town of Hudson needs to spend that kind of money for that. I canceled a contract for tasers. You had tasers that were about 5 months old, but the chief that was here wanted yellow ones instead of black ones. I think that was an $18,000 waste of money. So I canceled that. I canceled an order for 5-inch silver stars badges. So they had badges ordered for silver, plastic badges, pink badges, black badges, and black and silver badges, which was about $7,000 for badges. I wear one badge. I don't wear a badge every day that's different. I don't think the guys need to do that either. And I went to patch badges. They're cheaper, and when they rip or they get ugly, we just toss them in the trash and get another one. Costs us $1.65. We did that. We've gone to our 24-hour coverage. We've modified our schedules so that we bounce around a little bit. So our concern at one time, and we brought that to council, is that everything was happening at a particular time, date, and because they knew when we'd be on and off. So we changed that up. Our policy manual is now within IACP best practices. Additional patrol sergeant was brought on through an assessment. So we didn't just make somebody a sergeant. We brought them through, we assessed them, we tested them, which is a best practice method of doing things. We have post-certified and I mean post-certified, not something on the internet certified, but post-certified instructors in TASER, arrest control, self-defense, baton, driving, firearms, internal affairs now, DUI, which is SFST, something like that, and our forensics. So we now have 2 additional, actually 3. One of our detectives just passed 2. We have 3 forensic investigators, so 3 CSIs, which many departments don't have 1. So we managed to do that. We've established a regional intelligence group with Weld County, which includes 23 agencies now, and that includes several federal agencies. The FBI just came on board with us, ATF is on board, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is on board with us. We've received grant funding for the post-training, supervisory training, and CSI certifications for 2 of our officers. We now have equipment and ammunition. So when I got here, one thing I noticed is every officer carried whatever ammunition they wanted, including hardball ammo, which is for practice. We don't want to have a round go through 3 or 4 people. So we've standardized our ammunition. We've standardized our training. We've done that. Body cameras. We got a grant for that. We updated our body cameras. We now have the Body Cam 3, which is the newest, best body camera, I guess it's out there. And we did that prior to 2017. So we've signed a 5-year contract with them, saving us, I would say a minimum of $100,000 for what some of these agencies are buying now, because now they know you have to have them, and their contracts are outrageous, especially for storage. So our storage is unlimited for 5 years. So my guys basically really their cameras running as long as the power is going to it. So that's an advantage. Our detectives now have cameras. I have a camera, and because of the law, we're looking into getting our records person or a camera. So when they have to interact within the public, they can have a camera on. We brought on 3 experienced police officers. One of those was promoted to sergeant. We have an additional officer new in training right now. She's now in phase 2, getting ready to move on to phase 3 training. We've worked with several agencies, so now you'll see more and more often. You'll see State Patrol in town. You'll see Weld County Sheriffs in town. You'll see other agencies like Fort Lupton that will come assist us. State Patrol is working our fatals for us because we just don't have level 3 or advanced technical accident investigators. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of each car that they use is like $150,000 in equipment in there. They have drones. They fly the drones for us on our fatals or serious accidents, and they 3D map it for us. I mean, that would just be crazy for us to try to do that. So we have that. We've had workings with K9. So we've had the K9 called up 4 times the last 2 months. All 4 times we've got good hits. So they've interdicted and seized over 6 ounces of methamphetamine. And we just keep getting truckloads of stolen items. So Fort Morgan is working with us now to recover some of those stolen items and get those back to the people they belong to. We filed cases with FBI Safe Streets, which is their Innocence Lost project for child pornography. We filed cases with the BATF, the U.S. Attorney's Office. We filed direct on 2 cases on bank robbers and illegal weapons. And we've established, again, I said, and we work with district attorneys in Weld and Larimer counties for some of our cases. And we've also filed cases with in Adams County, which has helped us a lot on our pawn stuff. Weld County does not file pawn ticket violations, which I don't understand, but Adams County has been able to do that for us. Next slide is just basically showing you off the CBI website, no crimes were reported or anything. And now you can see that we do report crimes. So, and I'll go through some of the, there's some confusing things on there. I've noticed on Facebook that there are some confusion, and I'll try to clarify some of those things for you. All our officers complete daily activity reports. They're submitted by each and every officer for every watch. So I covered 2 days ago, I did one. So I'm not above anything my officers do. I do exactly what my officers do. The reports are reviewed daily, assigned to detectives. So I asked, and we do quarterly audits instead of no audits. So we know when we're lacking in something or something's missing, and we get that done. And doing it quarterly allows us to get it done before all the information disappears or evidence disappears. We don't want that to happen. So we do that on both our evidence, our officers' reports, calls, call logs, everything. We make sure that property is properly logged now, so it's not missing later. All our police records are correctly done. Statistics are done monthly. And the cases are properly cleared or inactivated, so we can track that also. All of our blood work goes in within 48 hours. All of our drugs will go in. If we have a large amount of drugs, they go in the next day. And I mean by go in, we don't keep them here. We don't have a secure enough facility for the large amount of drugs or cash. So I've opened up actually charity opened up the account. So if we have cash seizures or cash, it goes to a bank. We don't store it here in town hall. Drugs, we take directly down to CBI for testing and analysis. Guns go either to CBI for firearms ballistics, or they go to BATF or the Denver lab for NIBIN testing, in which 2 of the guns that were here before I got here came back on crimes. And we've had 2 guns since I've been here seized that came back to crimes, bank robberies. So that happens. So here's some of, we'll go. So on the 2019 motor vehicle theft, some of the confusing thing in the brackets, you'll see 9 and 5. So one of the things that NIBINS does is it doesn't actually track. So we don't get credit for everything. So even though we have 9 cars under motor vehicle theft, it doesn't mean that we had 9 stolen. It means that includes what we recovered. So we recover a lot of stolen cars here, but we don't really get credit for that, where we've actually had 5 stolen cars from the town limits or our jurisdiction. So those 5 cars that have been reported stolen, we've recovered 9. And so rarely do we recover our own stills. They show up in Brighton, Denver, whatever. So that's something I wanted to show you that's a discrepancy and it doesn't match up with the numbers at the end. In 2020, again, we had 4 stolen within the town limits and 13 recovered. Although on Facebook, I've seen as many as 9, 10. People have said there's 6 cars stolen in a night, but we don't get a single call. So we can't report that, and I can't take information and I can't put it in a computer to show it's stolen. So that's one of the problems that we want to make sure that we try to fix here. Crime rates, I did it mostly on property crimes because we have infrequent violent crimes to really, for me to stat, I can make it look really good because we have 1 or 2 a year. So when we look at 2019, we had 25 thefts reported. 12% of those were solved. 73 of those were taken in private businesses or private residences, and approximately 27% came from businesses. In 2020, 32 thefts were reported. 66 of those were solved. When we, of course, we had detectives working. 77% came from private houses, and 16% businesses. So obviously our private homes are the ones that get burglarized or hit. In 2021, 28 thefts were reported, 58% solved so far in property recovered. 76% of those were private residences. Now the numbers won't totally match up because some of those we count as businesses too, because if somebody has property stolen from their pickup truck in their yard and their private contractor, counts as a business too. And that's what happens a lot is tools are stolen here. A lot of that our property crimes are tools that are in the truck. I mean, welders are being stolen out of trucks. That's not lightweight equipment, but that's somebody's livelihood. I mean, that's how they make a living. So when we looked at burglaries in 2019, 3 burglaries reported, 33% solved, and they were all residential burglaries. 2024 burglaries reported, 50% of those are solved. And 60% of the residential, and then that again, you'll see the discrepancies. 40% of that was businesses. 2021, we've only 2 burglaries reported, and 50% of those are solved. And we think we have property for the second one showing up at a pawn shop in Adams County, and so that may give us a lead as to, well, we know who took it. We just can't prove who took it right now, but hopefully our detective will get the right lead and so we'll be able to solve 100% of our burglaries. In 2019, we looked at days of the week. The hardest hit were Sundays. between 6 and 9 or 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. And the month was January was our worst month. In 2020, the day of the week was Wednesday, again, between 300 and 600, 0300 and 0600 hours. And then of course, that's when people started worrying that that's when we didn't have coverage. So we started sponsoring cops around a little bit. And October was our worst month. So it's not like there's a crime pattern or something that we can really track. In 2021, so far this year, Tuesdays are our worst day, and 6 in the morning till 9. And I can tell you 6 in the morning and 9 is because that's when people wake up and find stuff missing, find their truck's gone or their tools are missing. Everything's equal in February, March, April, and June, 2 each. So I looked at property crime, and when you look at stats, and I see this posted too, when you look at Denver stats, they're horrible. Everybody's like sky high. When you look at us, our property crimes increased between 2019 and 2020 by 22%, and they decreased this year by 16%. Everybody else is up in the 40s and 50s, 60s, 70% up in their property crimes. We're down. So, and then that could be people just not reporting things and people are all getting hit and missing stuff. I don't know. Motor vehicle thefts, 2019, 2020, we had a 30% increase, which was like 2 cars difference, but still 2 people are missing their vehicles. And vehicle thefts, 2020, 21, we're down 25%. Denver's up in the 70, 80, some agencies are up 180%, and we're down 25% on motor vehicle thefts. So again, when you look at 2021, again, we've recovered a lot of stolen cars, 12, and we've had 3 stolen cars from our jurisdiction that are reported. And I would imagine you're going to report it if your car is missing. So, but we just don't get that. We're not getting a ton of calls because we're more visible. We try to put guys out there. Our cars are more visible. And then of course, next is I put in here social media. So social media kills us. We see where crimes are being reported on social media. We've tried to follow. I have a detective that if he can, he's followed up. We had some reports of cats being tortured and shot. We tried to follow up. We contacted that person. We went to their house and they did not want to talk to us. They absolutely said to use the F word and everything with us. So we let it go. We had a couple other reports of some tools and stuff being stolen from a yard. We went there and they said they weren't victims. So getting accurate information from social media hasn't been good for us. We prefer that just people call us, and the other thing we see too is a lack of cooperation. So we've had people that just don't want to give us camera footage. They don't want to talk to us. They don't want to give us statements. We're there to help you. I mean, we try not to wake you up at 3 a.m. If it's a violent crime or something, we will. But if it's a motor vehicle theft, the detectives will follow up, and we've had them knock on doors at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so that's what we're trying to do is work on our community commitment. So the bicycle rodeo, I know COVID killed us, but the trunk or treat thing, the farm and home grand opening stuff, school visits. So I have officers at least visit the school once a week, the elementary school. We talk to the principal pretty often. Again, we're trying to reiterate to everybody, we're your police department. You pay for us to be here. Call us, have meetings with us, whatever you need or want, we'll come to you. We'll buy donuts, whatever you need, we'll come in and if you have a plan, if you know something, if you have videos, send them to us. I see a lot of videos and I have to trap those a lot of times and get them off of Facebook of cars, suspicious vehicles. But if I can get the actual raw footage, I can actually do something with it. I can blow that up. I can get plate numbers from it. I can't get it off of Facebook because whatever quality you put in there is what I get. And it's hard to really decipher when it's all pixelated. The Christmas parade, things like that. So again, I've got tons and tons of statistical data and stuff that we downloaded from our RMS system and stuff. So I just wanted to give you guys some clearances and some ideas to what we have and haven't had. And it's basically in 2019, we started. That's where we really started because detectives trying to get facts from empty folders doesn't work real well. we have databases now. So Nicole just had a theft yesterday where, I mean, we had a first name of a suspect, and because of our intel databases, we were able to, she got a warrant for the suspect already. So these are things that didn't exist in 2016, 2018, and early 2019. So we have these things now. We have tools, and we want to work with the community and help out. So please, just encourage everybody in your neighborhoods to call us. Questions?
So you keep saying call us, just 911, because that's the only number they have. You got-
We have dispatch numbers on all our cards. We have dispatch.
To Weld County, though, that's what I'm saying.
It-
People have to call Weld County non-emergency, and they don't like to do that. And I know I've called before, and you said you haven't gotten that call from Weld County. So I think there's a miscommunication there. And then a lot of people think, oh, it's an emergency, but is it really an emergency? Do I need to call 911? I know a lot of people want a local number here to call.
Problem is, we don't have if you want to open up a dispatch center, I can do that.
Are there any individual dispatch centers in Will County anymore?
Not one.
I didn't think so. I know Fort Lupton had it many years ago, but they got rid of it.
Even in the metro area, like Jeffco has theirs, and they include Lakewood and a lot of Golden, and a lot of the bigger towns. Just it's expensive to run dispatch centers, and
But if you had like a non-emergency local number, they could call not Weld.
so I
County.
put a cell number on all our cards. But again, you have to hope that officer's on duty or off duty. I have people that have called me at home, in which I will dispatch from my home officer if I'm available. The thing is, if it's an in progress call, if it's at Love's and somebody's beating somebody out or dumping somebody out of a moving vehicle, that's a 911 call, not a put it on Facebook call or I need to, because I'll get on Mondays, I'll get the calls from the town hall, and it's like, oh my God, somebody's dumping a body out of the car at Love's. Nobody, and I check our call logs and nobody called 911. And I know dispatch, it's a nightmare because they dispatch for 27 different municipalities. It's hard on them. I filed complaints on them. I've voiced my thoughts because I came from someplace where we had dedicated dispatchers, and we just don't have that. So everybody is a little bit different in what they do. And I know that you have to dial the number, then you have to go to 2, then you have to go to 4, then you have to wait.
And I think that's where a lot of people for a non-emergency, they don't want to call it in because it is a process. So if we
And
had a
it's the
local,
same for
like
us.
if Melanie answered since she's evidence, or Shane since he's your admin, if they answered Monday through Friday, or you hired another part-time person or something to answer non-emergency calls for Hudson, I think you might get more.
So the problem is with Shane. Shane's up here, he works, he gets a call that says, hey, I have a shoplift in progress at the store or at the gas station, whatever. Then he doesn't have a radio. So his only means of getting this out is instant messaging the officer.
Emergency, so they should call 911. I'm saying non-emergency issues.
But how do I define emergency or non-emergency for some folks?
And people are going to call for different things.
Yeah, something
It's
that,
the same
Saying what
thing.
people are sick of
Right.
having to call Weld County, because like I said, I've called Weld County a few times and I've asked Chief about it. And he's like, I never got that call. And I'm like, well, there you go.
And I
Or
don't.
Laura's mentioned something that somebody called and he never got the call. Like, there's times where people call and they don't get the call. So what's the point of keep calling when they know it's not
So
happening?
I can check
That's my
these
issue.
calls and everything that gets into Weld County is recorded. So there's a record of the call if it exists. So the other day I had calls about a vehicle that was left over off 76 and they claimed on Facebook, we called the police. I called dispatch right away. Said, you get a call on this. Did you get 2 calls from this? No. So either they're out now lying to me, which I don't think they are, or maybe people are not posting accurately. Or maybe they're not calling our dispatch. Maybe they're calling somebody else. I don't know. I don't have the question for that. I just know that we're contracted to work through Weld County Dispatch.
I get that.
That's
I
so
just
people
thought maybe
have to
something wrong.
call. I mean, to set up our own dispatch, to put a mobile station in town here and to have somebody like Shane trained to dispatch. I would imagine that's $100,000 bill right there.
No, I get that. It's just frustrating.
A lot more. So
Yeah, because you're going to have at least four people running it,
Mhm.
5
If not more.
for coverage. That's a whole different
Right.
department.
And training
Yeah.
and all that.
So I mean, and I can't imagine what the technology even costs for a console even.
Right.
Yeah.
to have all that. So, I mean, I don't think it's feasible. I know Fort Lupton had one at one time and it was just not a feasible thing for them.
And they did 24-hour dispatch in Fort Lupton at
Well,
that point.
dispatch is not just police.
It's
Yeah.
fire,
It's-
EMS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ambulance
Mhm.
and it's Excel. They call a lot of different people. So sometimes they're just dispatching to the wrong places. So if they're not trained well either through Weld County,
Yeah.
that's part of the problem.
And there's a lot of turnover. I hear new dispatchers every week and they're going through training and it's a tough job. I was on line duty one time and I spent a week in dispatch and I would have rather jumped out the window and broke both my arms than spend another week in dispatch. It's
I
just,
did it for 5 years.
it's a hard job. It's something, it's not something you just put somebody at a desk at, say, here's a radio, here's your console, type up the call. It's tough because you are truly multitasking with your dispatcher. I mean, you got 5 or 6 things going on at one time. I just don't think it's something that would ever be feasible here in the near future, at least. And I try to help during the day if I'm here. I try to help if I hear something or can do something. If I hear them dispatch something, I'll run a name or something for the officers. We do workups for people. But again, our dispatch can't do that. And it's tough. Even when you go to a clearance channel, there might be 3 other agencies that are waiting to have somebody cleared. And then, you don't always know what you're getting because I've run people the dispatch just told me didn't have any problems. And I find out that they have warrants out of California or elsewhere. The vehicle is not the VIN number that we ran. Mistakes were made. I understand that, but we still need to get calls because that's how we get our calls. That's how we go to we get them dispatched to us. And if it's sitting on a call board, my guys know to take that call, go with it. And there's a record too. So calling the front desk, there's not really a record and instant messages disappear. And then I don't know what was said or who said what, or if I'm being sent to the right address. We've had a couple of those instances where people call and they hang up. I don't know what's going on, or I don't know that doesn't get, or if it's a moving domestic, we get there, it's gone. So that's part of the issues in small town. We just don't have that resource.
The only 2 ideas that I would have is, and it still was going to be very expensive, but yeah, doing your own dispatch out of here Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But then you have to have everything in place that you switch it all back over to Weld County after hours, holidays, weekends, all of that.
I can
Yeah.
only imagine that would be a
That would be a
huge
mess.
nightmare.
It would be worse than what it is.
When I dispatched the entire county, there was one town that did that. And after hours and weekends, it all came to us. The rest of the time, they took all their own. The other thing is when somebody calls in and you call, dispatch, and they say, we never got a call, you can ask for the tapes,
We do.
but then you have to sit through all the calls that came through in that time period when they said they called to see.
And we get dailies every day.
Yeah.
So I look through that, and if there's something that was in between those calls, I call dispatch. And if they say there isn't any existence of that tape, either they're lying to me or they really don't have anything. And I doubt that they're going to lie to me. I'm more apt to believe that whatever was posted on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever probably wasn't valid information. Because I believe
Because
that-
everything coming in is recorded,
yeah.
but there's a lot of lines coming in that dispatch.
There are, and there's a lot of switching going on, and I understand that. But again, that's above my control. I complain a lot. I mean, I think they're not real happy with my own very own complaint form I filed for them. But I just try to make them aware that, hey, we have these issues, and some of them are officer safety issues. When you don't do a welfare check on my officers for 35 minutes,
No.
that's an officer coming laying on the street for 35 minutes. So I brought up those types of issues, and they do that now. They're pretty good about it. But again, it's always revolving. I mean, everywhere, even police departments, the dispatch, even firefighters, paramedics. I never see the same person twice. I mean, rarely. And that's a problem. So working relationships can be tough.
So you mentioned many occasions you have a problem with Weld County communication or different occasions, different stuff. Is that improving at all? Or is there?
It has improved. I mean, communication with not just dispatch, but with the other agencies. So now when state or well doesn't hear, you answer in a welfare check, they start moving our way. Fort Lupton has come over here for hours at a time and stationed guys for us because we've had 2 or 3 things going on. Just a couple Saturdays ago, we had an incident go on in which they took almost a full domestic for us till we could get somebody called in and to take it. So Fort Lupton's been very supportive of this and helping us. Dispatch.
Will County is improving.
It is. I mean, they do. I mean, we still get occasionally we can tell when the dispatchers, who they are and which ones don't. I mean, they don't like me because I still say things that the big city cops say. When I instead of saying on scene arrival, I say out, which was our terminology, which they immediately send me a message and say, this ain't the big city.
Yeah.
You say arrive.
Well, that's one thing that does. Everything changes.
Well, and they do.
Changes.
And a lot of the times I'll get, well, I didn't know you're the chief. I wouldn't have said that. Well, it shouldn't matter, any of the guys, because there's a lot of places where chiefs just don't go out and take calls. And I show up and get in the way of my guys all the time. So, we're working on everything. It's slow because there's a lot of agencies. So, but we're getting there. Other
Anybody else
questions?
have anything else?
So appreciate the reporting.
Thank you.
A lot of work.
Yeah, math isn't my greatest thing, so it was fun. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, on to general business. 4A, Resolution 2140, a resolution approving event services contracts with Colorado Event Productions for the town's outdoor movie series.
Thank you. These are contracts for next summer for 3 movie nights. Rec committee is trying to get everything scheduled, or as many things as they can get scheduled as early as possible. So that's what this is. It's been reviewed by your legal counsel. Changes have been made to, they have kind of pro forma documents. They use templates. They've made changes for us on those templates. And the total amount of all 3 events is $2,750. The movies have not been chosen. They'll be chosen another time.
Does anybody have any questions?
This is weird. So there's gonna be another problem that we have next summer where the world shuts down again. Do we still pay them?
We'll reimburse it.
Yep. No, we owe it.
So we would
Yep.
lose money if we had no event scheduled.
Correct. If something got canceled, we owe it.
One of the main reasons of going ahead so ahead is because we had the kiddos choose out movies, and a lot of them were already chosen by the time we were able to get the movies out. So we're jumping the gun and doing that for that reason. But
Could we maybe revisit it in February or March, even though, and have them choose the movies then and then do it then? So that way we have a better idea of if COVID's gonna hit again, or if there's another variant and it shuts down everything, then we aren't out of that money.
I don't think
Since
even
they're
by
not-
February, that's going to make a difference.
if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen the last thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hate to be out of all that money and not be reimbursed.
So the cancellation portion of the contract?
That's what I was just telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, payment can apply to a new date within 6 months of the original event date as available.
Okay,
There is a rescheduling fee for that, but they will,
well, that's better.
they'll work with
that
us.
sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Unless
that
you cancel within,
we're buying a place on their calendar. I mean,
Yeah.
because they're giving up a date for us, so
Okay.
that's why they have to
That
reschedule.
sounds good.
That's better then.
if you cancel with only 24 hours in advance, you're out the money.
I get that. because
But
that's
if,
how
you
it is in
right,
most places,
but if you cancel prior to that, we can put the money towards another date.
Okay.
Not that we know if 6 months is going to be any
Yeah,
better, but
no,
at
that
least
makes
you
it
can go,
better
we
that
can keep moving out by 6
Yeah,
months.
that makes it better than what I said, that we are just out the money, so.
Well, I mean, technically we are, but we can put it
Yeah, sounds good.
forward. Any other questions? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 21-40, a resolution approving event services contracts with Colorado Event Productions for the town's outdoor movie series.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Knopf,
Yes.
Councilmember Stadler,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammack,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Warren,
Yes.
Councilmember Biskins,
Yes.
Mayor Hargis.
Yes. Motion carries. 4B, Resolution 2141, a resolution approving a services agreement with the Community Economic Strategies LLC for economic development consulting services.
Thank you. This is what we discussed in executive session. Mr. Hall is online if you have any questions for him. He approves the agreement. Legal counsel approves it and is up for your approval.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? If not, I would entertain a motion. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was thinking, because I wasn't there at the last meeting. This is just for him to get ideas for that economic development stuff. Am I correct? It's not going forward with like,
It'll be to do an assessment and come with
okay,
recommendations.
that's, yeah, okay. that's-
Yeah,
okay.
to do the assessment, come with recommendations and be able to provide that information that we agree upon to businesses that would be interested as they start doing their new year budgets and development information.
Okay, that
So
makes
get us a heads up at that point.
sense. Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Anybody else? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 21-41, a resolution approving a services agreement with Community Economic Service Strategies LLC for economic development consulting services. There's a lot of the same words in that.
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Knoll,
Yes.
Councilmember Stadler,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammack,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Warren,
Yes.
Councilmember Biskins,
I'll abstain on this one.
Mayor Hargis.
Yes. Okay. 4C, Resolution 2142, resolution approving the Colorado opioid settlement memorandum of understanding.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. This is something we talked about, I think, about a month ago. We are one of the participating entities, so ultimately, we will likely get a place on the regional council, but this is ultimately to approve the settlement that municipalities basically throughout the state of Colorado and the Attorney General are entering into. It'll create a bunch of different places where we can look to for getting money to offset expenses related to opioids. It could be the operation of our court. It could be Narcan for our police department. It could be things like LPR, license plate readers, other things that we can attribute to impacts related to the opioid crisis. And there'll be distributions not only at the state level, but to a regional level where there will be a regional council that would be primarily Weld County based. This settlement is going to happen with or without the town. And for the town to be able to access the funds, I would highly recommend approval. No downside.
Does anybody have any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2142, a resolution approving the Colorado opioids settlement memorandum of understanding.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4D, Resolution 2143, a resolution in support of accepting certain right-of-way parcels from CDOT, subject to successful negotiation of final terms and conditions.
Thank you. This is for the property that we're looking out in front of Motherlode, where Da Vinci Signs came and did their presentation. Basically, this is a resolution saying, yes, we're interested. And we do recognize that the limit use of the property such there's no improvements impacting the line of sight, and a minimum of 80% of the surface must stay pervious, which is kind of what we were thinking anyway. If we approve this, then it goes back to CDOT to say that we are willing to discuss with them further, and then we will get an offer from them to get the property for some small amount of money. When I say small, I'm like $20 in consideration of type stuff. They're not going to charge us per acre or something like that. It's pretty much just get it out of their hair.
Any questions? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 21-43, a resolution in support of accepting right-of-way parcels from CDOT, subject to successful negotiation of final terms and conditions.
A second.
That is a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I was waiting for Daniel.
Wake up, Daniel.
I'm awake. I said aye. Probably just didn't hear it.
Motion carries. Number 5, discussion direction to the planning commission regarding Beach Street.
You want me or you? Okay.
You.
This is something that Mayor and I have been talking about. But the idea, we all understand that there's an issue with Beach Street down by the school, the 400, 500 block. It's been something that has kind of bedeviled this town for years. This would be the council giving direction to the planning commission to examine this in depth and bring back specific recommendations to this council for action.
Can I just say something on behalf of planning commission?
Go for it.
So 2 months ago, was it? We discussed trying to bring this back to council as well. So I think it's awesome that you guys want to revisit it, because we were discussing the same issues with school back in session and all that stuff. So we were going to bring it to you guys, but now we don't have to.
Nope, we're going to throw it right back at you.
That's fine. We're ready for it. So it just makes it kind of a little bit easier.
Everybody in the same boat?
We were just talking, well, what blocks were they?
The 400 and 500 north of the school.
Between 4th and 5th. 4th
And
and
that's
3rd.
Yeah, and
4th and 5th,
so
whatever.
some of the ideas we talked about was a public meeting, a work session on that, but making sure we get as many people on that block and Ash and Cherry as well, because their alleys will be affected.
Can we go all the
by
way to
things.
52?
I'm sorry?
Can it go all the way to 52?
That's what we discussed. in
Yeah.
planning
Because
commission.
that parking spot, I mean, you're essentially racing people to get through it first is what's
And if you
happening.
stop and you pull over,
Then people go around you and race that
Yeah.
way too.
Sure.
So I'd say take it all the way to 52.
Sure.
How many accidents have there been?
I don't know.
it's more the flow of traffic and the congestion, not accident wise.
Well, because if we're changing it for a reason. And I can see changing if there's an accident, that's a problem. Kid got hit, but if people are being able to manage through there. I manage through there all the time.
I mean, I do too. I'm just saying if they're addressing it, it should go all the way to 52.
Yeah, and I know.
I agree.
I know in planning commission, we
Well,
discussed,
no, just any,
it's a matter of time
Oh, we don't
before
know.
there's an accident with a child getting hit with school crossing, because kids don't always look.
There's a
Cars-
lot of kids
you
that live
can't-
down there now.
Yeah,
too.
and you
I
can't
think
really
that's-
see when the cars
Mhm.
are like all parked there, and I'm talking mainly from the school to 52. And when you.
And
And stuff.
I'm not willing to wait until somebody gets hurt.
Exactly. It's more of a proactive thing, because it is a matter of a time before a kid darts out, even during non-school after a ball, and because of all the cars parked there, they're
You
not, no
can't
one's gonna
see.
see them, and they're,
Yeah.
even if they're going slower than the
you're
speed
still
limit, they're
gonna
gonna
have the
get
same
hit.
problem. So you have cars parked on one side of the street. And then you're gonna have cars trying to get through very narrowly.
But if you
But
do
you have all
a,
those cars parked right there.
but if you
You
do a
still have the same
one-way,
problem if the ball goes running out there. They
but
go
if
right
you
in
do a
between those-
one-way down beach and a one-way out the other way, it's a little bit easier with parking and all that.
Yeah, we're not deciding on a solution right now. We're deciding to look into it. to figure out a solution.
Yes. And to
So
discuss
it's-
all the possibilities of
yeah.
what could happen.
It's throw it back to the planning commission, let them come up with some solutions or ideas and they'll bring it back to us.
Okay,
Does that sound reasonable?
sounds reasonable.
All right. Then planning commission has their walking papers,
Walking papers, marching orders, whatever.
marching orders. Okay, whatever.
Madam Mayor, I think we missed the consent agenda, approving it on our way into the meeting.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you asked if we redid
I
the
make a motion.
roll call and then we forgot.
I could have sworn we did that, but okay, we'll do it now.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hammack,
Aye.
Councilmember
Yes.
Nolf,
Yes.
Councilmember Warren,
Yes.
Councilmember Stadler,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Biskins,
Yes.
Mayor Hargis.
Yes. Thank you. All right, we all cut up now?
Yes.
Staff reports. Guy.
Two issues. One, we've posted the Public Works Director. It's a $90,000 a year job. We've had 3 hits. 2 of them are not viable. The one individual that is viable is in Alaska. So we're still looking. Usually by this time, we would probably have 15 or 20 applications, 5 of them being fairly realistic.
Well, so he's not
Nobody's
willing to
working.
move down here, is that it?
I'm sorry?
Is that what we're saying? He's not willing to move?
Oh, I haven't talked to him about it. You see, one of the issues of hiring somebody out of state, especially if they really want to get out of someplace like Alaska, they're looking for an anchor job here to spend 6 months and then moving on. So that'd be part of the questioning with them. But I mean, I can have a conversation with them.
Well, yeah.
We'd
let's
be
not
hard pressed to
assume.
move somebody down, but. And then Desmond Manning has resigned as your code and service, community service officer. He is going to take his old job back in the Department of Corrections with a raise. So good for him. That's good for him. Means we are looking now for a community service officer. So those are the 2 things that I have for you.
Okay. Corey.
Nothing this evening.
Charity. Let the record show that she shook her head no.
Nothing.
Jen.
Anything. I just wanted to give you an update. We are transitioning over to Pro Code, so building permits, inspections. We've slowly been doing that, but we've been trying to bolster our documentation and everything. You got to change everything over when you stop using one company. You got to put the new name on everything. So we're trying to get everything set up, get our systems set together and get that moving. Next week will be one of the biggest transitions because we'll actually get some of our permits that are in inspections right now moved over, but I just kind of wanted to let you all know it's still happening. We're still working on it. I might have a couple extra gray hairs, but it's been great. So, okay.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for Jen, Guy, Corey, or Charity since I didn't ask? Jay, do you have anything else for us? I do have a question for you. And this has been brought up in the past, but it was really brought up again tonight in force. Do we have any sort of internet fraud investigation?
Do we have an internet
Yeah.
fraud?
There's apparently everybody on the council keeps getting emails from me.
That's not you.
Asking for or asking for money or asking for
So you're asking me
Gift
to start
cards.
an investigation on you? Or,
on the emails that are coming. I mean, they're Gmail accounts. I know there's probably no way, but I just wondered if we had anything that we could do.
Gmails are actually one of the easiest ones to hack into. We don't use them. I mean, their 64-bit encryption just doesn't work nowadays. But I'm not an internet guy. I'm not a techie guy, but I mean, if you want us to, I mean, you can forward.
I was just curious.
Yeah, we can look at if you screenshot it and not actually send me anything, so that I don't have any issues with asking you for money.
2 months.
She just wants gift cards.
Oh,
They're only
oh, it's gift cards.
each. I mean,
And I actually told the person that I was gonna buy the gift cards.
Yeah, that, we get calls, a lot of calls about these kind of scams. And believe it or not, we've had a couple of people actually pay out.
Oh,
Um,
They actually open the back of it and screenshot.
we had a lady here pay several $1,000s to a Nigerian business because she won the lottery. She won the lottery, so.
So currently, I think the only way we can avoid this is if we get our own email server in which we can actually limit Gmail emails coming through with anything that has our names or Hudson, town of Hudson. That is possible to do. The other thing is we can talk to Fry. I doubt they have the technology to do this there. See if they can start putting some sort of security to limit those. I mean, it's getting pretty bad.
I get these once every 3 weeks from somebody around the state, another manager.
Yeah.
But
Email
it
me
is the
saying,
one
I get them
thing-
from Laura like every week.
So I don't think
Yeah,
they
I
can
got it
stop
every
it.
other
It's
month. just
actually
by
an email
Yeah.
from another
replied, not
account.
nicely better.
Right, but they
hack
can,
into your account.
no, they haven't hacked into my account, but they can stop certain email addresses from coming through.
It's a different email address every single time.
Yeah, it's a total different.
Yes.
And
Like to-
sometimes it's
Like,
not
well, okay,
Gmail.
yours today said boo, not
Boom,
Laura.
1987, I don't
Yeah.
know what it
That
was.
was the
Yeah,
October
most of the time
special.
they don't even have a name in them. They're just,
It's just numbers and letters.
yes.
There are some things that can be done. Like I said, whether or not Fry has the capability.
Probably not.
Because I get the same things, a text all the time too.
Text is different, but emailing, I just wondered if you had anything. Thank you.
I know how to get into your stuff, but I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't start an investigation.
So now we're gonna get them
You're
from
the
the
one that
chief
wants
too.
the
Well, maybe I shouldn't have
$500
said that.
gift card. It's all coming out. All coming to light.
Lee. Sorry, I had to remember your first name. I don't use it enough. I could have just said Public Works.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lee Wallace. I am filling in for our prior director till Guy finds a new one. Been very busy here the last month, trying to catch up on things and shorthanded. So if anybody has any questions,
The one at the top of the list, it's always there is the pump station.
I wasn't gonna ask that because I brought it up earlier.
we looked at the pump station, we turned it on, and it was spiking very bad. It was going from anywhere from about 32 PSI to 75. We're trying to hold it at 52. I called Brown Engineering, the company that put the pump house in. He walked me through some troubleshooting and we adjusted some settings and we got it to hold about 52 PSI. But it would slowly taper off and then spike back up to 52. It was fluctuating. We started looking around and poking around other things and we're finding out that the clay valves, when the pumps slow down and get to about the minimum pressure, the clay valves are closing. The clay valves are part of the old system. And when it closes, the pumps build up pressure, the clay valves open again, the pumps are seeing a drop in pressure and are ramping back up again. So I'm in the process of trying to get hold of someone who can adjust these clay valves.
Good luck.
Yeah.
How many of
that's-
them are there? Do you know?
Clay valves?
Mhm.
2.
Oh, okay.
I know how to adjust them, but I don't know how to adjust them to the pump house.
Well, at least that is something. Thank you.
We're gaining ground. Yes.
Are they removable?
Yeah, we could probably remove them, but the clay valves, what they did for the towers is the towers would fill with water, the pumps would shut off, the clay valves would close, which would keep the towers from back feeding back into our tanks. Now for the pump house, when the pump shut off, the clay valves will close. So the pressure doesn't bleed off from the system. It doesn't pump again back into the tanks.
Okay, so that means they're necessary for proper function then.
Correct. Or possibly a different type of a valve system to keep it from back feeding.
That's what I was wondering, is if there is some different type of valve system that could be used.
Well, my first step to see if we can adjust these. If we can't, we'll have to look into
Okay.
something else.
One more thing. I know you're really short-staffed. If you get a chance, if somebody could, the crater right in the middle of Date Street as it meets 52 is getting bigger and bigger.
Dayton 52.
Yeah. It's going to need to be cleaned out first because there's a lot of gravel and dirt in it. And I realize putting in cold mix really doesn't do any good, but at least it'll fill it up until we get any moisture that pushes it all out again. Yeah. And it's right in the middle of the street. It's not one of the corner ones.
Yeah, you can't really go around it very well.
I gotta put my Jeep in four-wheel drive to get over it.
So like I said, if somebody gets a chance, I realize you're really short-staffed and it's not ours, it's CDOT's. But this is one of those, I'm tired of asking for permission. We're just going to ask for forgiveness because they don't do it. We need to get something done.
Yeah. I'm afraid one of the buses is gonna get a flat there.
Yeah, something. So.
Yep.
Do we want to do a permanent fix on there?
I don't know if CDOT will allow us to do a permanent fix. I would love to do a permanent fix, but every time apparently we've tried to talk to CDOT, they don't want us touching their road. I've gotten to the point of, I really don't care what you think. We're going to fix things so that we don't have a bus or a car that's lost in the hole, or at least has a broken axle or a broken wheel. If you might have a better connection with CDOT that you think you can get them to agree to it.
Everybody I knew at CDOT's gone, so I got to start over again. So.
Why does that not surprise me? Again, this is even a permanent solution is not high on the priority list for you. I know you've got a lot going on and not very many people. So.
Well, I know we had a water break on Hickory and Main. So we're going to have to do some jackhammering and probably get someone in to fix that while they're here with asphalt. If we can get permission to do that, we'll go ahead and fix that.
That would be great. Was the water main break because of the spiking from the pump station?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. Does anybody have anything for Lee?
No.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for stepping up and doing what you can. Appreciate it. Sarah.
No, I had one little thing, but I haven't seen him around town. The homeless man. I just don't know if he's still around. He was living in the park by the fire station. Now he was in a ditch last. Some of the kids saw him. So I guess that would have been for Jay. Sorry. Is the homeless man gone that was living in our park in the ditch, or is he still roaming the streets? Because he's been seen on my street quite a few times and I didn't like it.
We tried to give him a ride one day. He disappeared on us. I went along the ditch line. Actually, a guy was with me. I went along the ditch line, tried to find him. We were able to locate him and asked him where he wanted to go. And he wanted to go to Brighton, where there was resources for him. At Lockville, he kept dropping him off here.
Okay, because I
So-
did see something on social media where someone said the cops dropped him off right in front of the house, and I was like, I don't think that'd be ours, but I'm not gonna say anything.
No, Lockville, we brought him out and he said he
Okay.
didn't want to come back to Hudson because nobody feeds him here. So
Oh.
we actually got him a meal and
I
then
know,
took
I
him
was
to
gonna say
Brighton.
that There's a couple people on our street that feed him, so, and he's told our people that he wants to go to Erie, but he's got a warrant, so he can't return there. So. I was just curious, just because it's gonna start to be an issue, and, I mean,
He hasn't been back in at
Okay.
least a week.
Okay.
okay, yeah, because I haven't seen him lately in the past week. I just know we have like an ordinance of sleeping in the park after dark, after 10 PM. So I just wasn't sure if he's out there after 10, we can pick him up on that.
So a couple things. We do have ordinances that prohibit essentially camping in the park overnight, but we can't criminalize homelessness. And if we do, we will get sued and we will lose.
No, I know that. I'm just saying like take him
but-
to a shelter or
Yeah,
something.
That's what I was gonna say. The problem here, it seems to me, is with Loch Buoy.
Yeah.
Because Loch Buoy, if what the chief heard is correct, should not be taking their homeless individuals to places outside of town that don't have services. But we also have to be careful not to criminalize homelessness because there is a bunch of case law that says we will get sued and lose.
No, I know, but that's why we don't have any shelters here. So I wasn't sure if
But-
our police contact him, if we can take him to a shelter.
But
get
we
him
have
out
to
of
have a
our town.
reason to contact him. It is not a reason standing alone that someone is homeless.
Okay.
That is criminalizing homelessness
So
because
if he's
they're,
on somebody's property though, that's trespassing. even if
Correct.
He's just standing in their front yard.
that is trespass and that is a reason to contact. But if someone is walking down,
Main Street and 52.
yeah, that,
Looks
it-
like he's
So
down.
our,
Okay.
our actual contacts have been for him. He had some outrageous actions. So we contacted him, we talked to him. And when I talked to him, I simply asked him, is there somewhere you want to go? I asked, he said, yeah, I don't want to come in Hudson. So where'd you like to go? He goes, I'm trying to go to Brighton, but I keep getting brought back here.
Just tell him not to cross
One of my
160.
officers will be happy to give you a ride, and he got
we
that
need to
ride
have a
right after.
conversation with Lock Buoy, because if that's true that they're dropping them off here, that's a significant issue.
And we had an issue with Fort Lupton doing that a couple times, and I called their chief, and it hasn't happened since.
Okay.
Can you call Chief McCool down there and talk to him?
In, right?
And Lock Buoy?
And, well, I can, I mean,
Well, if his officers are dropping him off and you're aware of that, I would think calling the chief and having a conversation, asking him if that's happening.
if
would
it
just say,
turns
"Hey,
into a repeat problem, I probably will do that. But I mean, at this point in time, I have a gentleman that told me it was Lock Buoy that dropped him off.
But didn't he say Lock Buoy keeps bringing him back here?
He said
Right, so can't you with
He
that
said-
call Lock Buoy, the chief, and ask him?
it was
say,
a
"Hey,
simple solution. We gave the man a ride to where he wanted to go. He's not been back since. I don't see it as a big issue. I mean, if I have 3 or 4 homeless guys coming back here going, it's freezing here and I don't have any food, then it becomes an issue. And yeah, then it will be a conversation.
warm back."
This gentleman has been in this town, my understanding, a significant amount of time. He would spend the night in the barn store bathrooms and then go to the library when it's across the street from the barn store. So, and that's been how many years ago? 5 or 6 years ago now. So he's been in this area a long time.
And it's the same one?
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
Because the library recognized from prior time. When he goes to the library, he just sits, he's very polite, yes ma'am, no ma'am. He does his time on the computer, he gets up and moves. He does not interact with anybody, he doesn't shout out. So while he's here, he doesn't smell that great and look that good, but he is not, when he goes to the library, he spends time there, he's very polite, very quiet, doesn't interact with anybody, he's not outside their boundaries in any way, shape, or form. They let him stay till his time's up. They tell him his time's up, and then he takes off. But I first saw him sitting cross-legged in the field over there, and I was like, that's not normal.
I know, I just figure if he was sleeping in the park and there's kids at the park and it's after hours and we have an ordinance that prohibits it, then we should enforce our ordinances. That's just my thinking. Well,
So-
not
We're gonna
arrest him,
be-
but take him to a shelter.
So to me, enforcing that doesn't do him any help. It causes him to get a local warrant, which we're not going to arrest him for anyway.
Just
He's going to
enforcing
incur
him to a
fines.
shelter, It doesn't give him a warrant.
Well,
you can just issue
eventually
him
it
a
could, because
warning.
he's not going to show up for court on an ordinance violation.
Okay,
Whereas
that's fine. It's fine.
we can help the
Sorry for
gentleman,
bringing it up.
another
I
matter.
think what you're saying though is a little bit out there because you're also saying there's children in the park after 10 PM.
Well, I don't want my
So-
kids to go play on something that he's gonna defecate out if he's not gonna use. You know, he's homeless. I mean, I don't think he's gonna go to the porta potty every single time if he's sleeping next to the fire station. That's my thing. You don't know. There could be needles he could be using. Then you got some empty needles in a park where kids play. I mean, it's just a whole big thing. Look at Denver and all the issues they had. They had to close Civic Center Park.
Yeah, but we're talking about one.
I know, but
person
one
right
brings
now.
more. When they get word that Hudson lets them in here, we don't care. That's my issue. But that's okay. No, I'll wait till he's on my property and I'll call 911. It's fine.
I mean, he's a human being. I mean, we
That's
have a
all.
right to help him if we can, rather than prosecute him
Take
for
him to a shelter.
sleeping in the park. I mean, gentleman is not doing any actual criminal act. And I mean, if we can't get him a shelter, if we can take him if he wants to go somewhere in Denver to a shelter, I'm happy to arrange that. I have contacts. He didn't want that. He simply wanted to go to, right? And he didn't come back. And he was happy with this. He's been cordial with us. Every contact we've had, it's never been confrontational. The witnesses I talked to says, no, he's not only he just talks to himself and acts strange sometimes. I mean, probably all of us do at some point in time. So I don't see that as a criminal act. And I think if we can help a man, we help him rather than bog him down with a bunch of tickets or ordinance violations.
Anything else for Jay?
Nope.
Thank you. Did you have anything else, Sarah?
Nope.
Joe?
I'm good.
Maria?
We just extended the house decorating with the pumpkins. We also decided if they didn't sign up and they see, the judges see houses, they will approach them and ask them if they're doing the contest as well, but.
Okay. Lisa, is there anything you would like to add?
No, not tonight.
Okay. Candace,
I'm good, thank you.
Daniel,
Nope, all good here.
and I can't think of anything right offhand. Citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to address the council on anything that was brought up tonight you didn't get a chance to address? You may do so at this time. Step up to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Let the record show that nobody is coming up and there's no other citizens on the Zoom.
Moving to executive session, I make a motion to move to executive session pursuant to section 3.121E of the Town of Hudson Home Rule Charter for personal matters, except if the employee who is the subject of the session has requested an open meeting, or if the personal matter involves more than one employee, all of the employees have requested an open meeting regarding review of the town manager.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in executive session. Let's take a 5-minute break before we actually go in there.
Yeah, 'cause I gotta pee real bad.